Okay. Oh, that's... Okay. Well. Hmm. Hmm. In this case, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes, so I guess we can get this started officially. So, welcome everybody. For those of you tuning in for the first time, or maybe you don't know, I'm David, and I'm the lead designer of Lords of Nether. And today we're doing just a casual work stream. I have a couple of options on what I could be doing. Right now I'm kind of working in the VFX graph in Unity on heat distortion of all things, which we haven't been applying to our various heat sources in the game just yet. So that is something that I started doing today. It's my first time actually using the shader graph, so you're probably going to be learning just about as much as me. Oh, I mean, I also, sorry, the VFX graph, I used the shader graph before. Therefore, I have some idea of what I'm doing here already, but still fairly new. Okay. Okay. I mean, I could, but it doesn't really matter. I have to say, the first couple of times I worked with, well, anything, any of these graphs, first time I started with the shader graph yesterday, the first moment, the first couple of hours, actually, I hated working with it. But today it's significantly easier working with this one. And I'm actually starting to like it quite a lot. There's a lot of material online to help me learn stuff, and I feel pretty confident that I can knock out some cool stuff for the game. But we start simple with this thing here. Lifetime. So these little boxes that I'm making here right now, well, these things, they are all what we call exposed values, meaning they are actual controllers. So if I went into the material here, I can see them and I can control them, while these inside the boxes are the actual values, and I can only control those if I'm actually editing the shader. So this is like the base shader, and this allows me to expose those values, meaning every time I apply the shader, I can just have different materials with it. It's a bit technical, but essentially, if you do this, you allow one shader to be used for multiple different materials, which is pretty cost effective. There was, yes, normal maps. Let's map the film. Okay. Texture to the should be the one. Smoke puff normal sheets. Yeah. Is it 5? 5 it is, okay. I wonder if it's better to use this one, but we'll see. That's why we're exposing it. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. Holidays mean so little to me nowadays. Happy Easter, everybody, for everybody that's celebrating. Yeah, we're doing this on Easter because I also have time off of work. So we had a vote on the Discord, and people were in favor of doing a stream today so they can join. So maybe other people don't care that much about Easter either. Might as well. Currently. So if you stick around a bit longer after I've done all of this, you'll probably get to see me work on different meshes for different tile sets, and I will be actually playing the game from within the editor, and you will see the current state of things actually. And by the way, if you have any questions or if you just want to say hi, feel free. But I imagine most people are probably going to be fairly quiet today, and that's perfectly fine. Oh, different political. You. Okay. Let's see. I have to open these values as well. Floats. OCD. Yeah, still terrible. Okay, forget that. What else? The mesh index. I forget what that did. I am not sure what that did, I forget. Does not seem to... That's probably why also. Okay, oops. Okay, so now that I've exposed all of these values, I can just change stuff here. This one looks pretty alright. Perhaps a bit aggressive for a torch, so we can reduce the lifetime. Huh. Excuse you? Bizarre. Okay. Has a mind of its own, apparently. One important thing is that we need to see exactly what we're actually doing here. Okay. Can you not? Okay. I think we can give it a little more lifetime. Okay. It's literally like a portal. It's like a tear in reality. I actually like that. That is really cool. I could use this for something. Use it for the portal. Interesting. Hey, Benita. That is cool though. If I use an effect like this for the portal, I can make it happen. If it's put on a centrifugal force, meaning I have to create a mesh. Okay. Well, there's stuff that we're gonna be learning. I'm just kind of mesmerized right now. Okay. Let's go with maybe still a little too aggressive, but should be visible from a distance. So maybe a little too visible. Okay, and okay. And now we can copy you and paste you in here and remove you from here. Okay. Destroy you. Hide you. Okay. Unity, you and your inefficient shit. Okay. Yeah. Ugly old menus. Okay, I need to make the new ones. Okay. And these don't have it. These do. Cool. Maybe they could be a little more chaotic. Unity's gonna be very unhappy about the fact that I'm doing stuff while also recording. Okay, you, Rando. Oh, I don't get to see you because you're not. Of course. Okay. Okay, well, it looks fairly chaotic in here. Oh. Did that automatically adjust? Maybe if we increase the rate. Doesn't seem to do that much. Not from a distance, yeah. Okay, that might allow more of a break. Otherwise it becomes too dense. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. Okay. Um, I love this thing. Better animated. Smoke. I could do that. Okay. Yeah. I can notice it. Nice. So not super easy to notice from the... you can still see it. It's going to be more interesting on stuff like this, even if those are not going to feature later. And here. I gotta put it here. But I need to figure out... And for now, just with the size, I might be able to... okay. Let's just make... I should be figuring out how to make it emit from a mesh, but for now... Okay. You gotta go here. Okay, if we go really crazy with the size... Oh god, that's a bit too crazy. Okay, you're getting in from way down there, so let's see. Cool. Okay. Is this enough? Because we use a different particle. Okay. But not as aggressive. This one should have steam as well, but yeah. This one we can actually tone down significantly. Maybe here. Actually, I don't know if we should even have heat distortion on that one, because it's as if it's cooling, right? So yeah, maybe just screw it. Instead, we can put it here. I should probably drop that. Okay. Size, I think we can make it even bigger because maybe not that big. in this lifetime. Doesn't it look like something? I can make the size bigger here. Is the rate too much? You know what they say, if you can't stand the heat distortion, get out of the kitchen. I can't wait to change out this asset. We got some new stuff planned with the change in the tile system, and the way we're going to be building assets from now on is going to be much more performant and efficient. This is old and deprecated. It still looks nice, but new stuff is going to be better. Actually, interestingly enough, the way we're going to build walls is the way that this thing was built here. It was slapped together. Well, sort of. This is going to be done by... A lot of this is going to be done by materials and shaders and stuff. I have a way to deal with you, but I don't really feel like doing that. Hey, Zwaxo! Thank you. Yeah, the new one, the plan for the new one is basically it's going to be mostly this central thing. It's just going to be like one big fire pit, essentially, and these things are going to be hanging inside of it. It's going to be much, much cozier, and there are going to be things like these sort of things and maybe other monstrous herbs and stuff. A lot of the food that you see here, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I made it very human. That's everything to do with all of these props. When it comes to the food props, everything was very human, very tame, and these are like monsters. It's weird that that's the case. So that's something going forward that I will be changing. Like one thing that I really want to do with this sort of thing right here is I actually want to figure out how to make an animated shader. Now we do have to either already get a shader from somewhere, or if I want to build it myself, I have to, well, we have to update to the next version of Unity, because shader graph does not allow me to do tessellation and stuff and displacement in this version of Unity. But I would really love to make an actual animated boiling liquid thing. And you see it like actually bubble instead of like fake bubbles like this. These are perfectly fine and all, but you know, I could make actual 3D ones. I know how to do them. They're not necessary right now. Yeah. Well, right now this is essentially what I can do inside the project. I can do little touches. Well, the little, you know, like sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small. For example, I might be making like a whole shader for like tiles and stuff like that, like water or other kind of liquids or lava. I already made a little lava shader, nothing too special, but we have better stuff. I was mostly just messing around with that one. But Chris is the one who's building like the big stuff, the features and all, and what I can go in with is visual touch-ups. Like okay, I'm gonna save this one. that sometimes I can do big stuff, but it's situational. It depends on. Okay, so let's kill you, and you in a different way. What did you have in mind for more monster-styled food, food and plates? Well, one of the things that I have in my little lore Bible is that, and this is going to affect gameplay actually because it's going to constitute a system change. The predominant diet of the I forgot the UI of the kobolds, your workers. The kobolds mostly eat giant naked mole rats and mushrooms. So that sort of stuff is gonna be in there. But in general, I just want to make the food look more weird and fucked up. Just the plates should be more crude and messed up. The food should be like weird animal body parts and gooey sauces and eyeballs and stuff like that. I have some ideas for inspiration. For example, in Total War Warhammer 2, the DLC for Grom the Paunch introduced an entire mechanic for him where he cooks with various ingredients that he finds in the world as he accomplishes objectives, and that was actually the initial inspiration for me figuring out, I've been really sleeping on like actual monstrous looking food because like all the stuff that he can make looks weird as fuck, and so that's like some inspiration for that particular stuff. So in terms of what I can do in engine, this is a recent change. If you're coming from the Discord, you will know because I posted that in the dev updates. Previously, I can open the actual current build. And my PC is gonna be unhappy because Unity is not performant at all. I'm going to have to turn down the... I hate these ugly menus. They gotta go. Let's say... Oh no, Hidden Heart has a lot of stuff. Entry. Or entry 2. Okay, so this is the throne room as it stands in the current Steam build. As you can see, the soulstone is a bit different. It's much smaller. The layout here is completely different. Also, you will notice that the lighting looks a bit different. Specifically in the throne room, if I made other stuff like here, it actually does check out. But like we're missing the dust modes that I added this week and stuff. But yeah, so for the longest time we had been running with this, and as I explained on the Discord, originally when creating the throne room, there was no concept for the soulstone. This thing did not exist because the entire thing was centered around the Lord, and at the time of designing this throne room, the concept was the Lord has one life, they're dead, and you're done. And then, since we weren't testing these things very much at the time, we were still like busy building more fundamental systems. I didn't really have a lot of exposure to how this would work, but along the way, I just started thinking, well, that's really punishing and not very conducive to actually using the Lord at all. Like it will just make people turtle, even people who don't want to turtle. So the first change to that whole paradigm, to that dynamic, was introducing the Soul Stone, which is a way for you to kind of come back to life after you have suffered a defeat. The Soul Stone has health of its own, and it depletes health as it returns you to life. And it can only do that a number of times. It can also be destroyed. Hey, Nutter. It can also be destroyed by other means, and if it is, obviously there's your failsafe. So you have to protect it. And that's the first thing that kind of incentivizes the kind of, yeah, I suppose. I'm very curious to see how people are going to end up playing once this thing is in everyone's hands. It really lives once it's in the hands of the players. We can only do so much to really anticipate and plan. Like, we can do a lot to test it and see how things go, but once you have thousands of people playing, it's a completely different thing, and I'm really excited for that sort of stuff. But yeah, as I was saying, the Soulstone brings you back, and that was like the first change in the Lord going out of the throne room instead of being a homebody. Unfortunately, at the time, the throne room was designed as is, and there was nowhere else for me to put the Soulstone. Hello, Schopenhauer. Is it how the starting room will look like? Well, this is the current build, and I'm explaining what the changes are. I will show you how I have changed it in the editor currently, which will basically be the layout of the room in the final game. Every single lord will have a different looking throne room, and this style set, which is still used in the updated layout, will also be changed because it is honestly quite old and non-performant, and horribly non-performant. I'm not even going to get into how, because it's yikes. Yeah, exactly. So as Nether is saying, the Soulstone has moved, but when I initially designed this room, it was not planned to even have a Soulstone. Then the Soulstone was designed as a mechanic, and the only place for me to put it at the time was here. And at the time I thought, okay, yeah, that's all right. I mean, it's kind of, it invokes a little bit of like that dungeon keeper-y thing where it's in the middle of the room and it's kind of nice. But it did bug me on a lot of accounts. It interrupts the line of sight towards the entrance, which is kind of like, I mean, you have a throne room and this giant thing is sitting here, and when somebody walks in, the first thing they see is this instead of you, which is like, you're the most important thing technically in this room. And then one other thing is that it blocks combat from happening here, which is like, this is essentially a boss room, and you are the final boss. Or another lord, obviously, if you're attacking them in their own. I go on a lot of tangents. My brain is all over the place. But where was I? I was yeah, okay. So on the cons of this whole thing, you should change the title of this. Oh yeah, I need to. I was in the middle of doing that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I switched it. I don't know if it'll update immediately, but maybe you need to refresh or something to see it. So the cons of this situation, yeah. So combat is blocked from happening here, and it's also very awkward since this is like you know, this is kind of a prized resource for you. And it's the first thing that enemies get to see when they walk in, that anyone gets to see, but especially enemies. And it created these really Monty Python-esque situations in which enemies would roll in, they would start whacking at the soul stone. Mordred kind of lumbers his ass off the throne and then starts like chasing people off of the thing like they're annoying mosquitoes. It was just a terrible thing. So that is why I changed the layout to this. And it took a while because I didn't actually have Unity for the longest time. A lot of things got kind of in the way. And then recently I was like, wait a minute, I can just put the project in and save Chris a buttload of time. So yeah, I created these curves and this little thing here out of like pre-existing assets like this. I modified this in Maya, and it feels so incredibly good. Like you have so much power once you have Unity. You have the engine here, and you have all of the various tools to change assets like 3D software, the texturing software, and so on. Thank you. Glad you like it. And yeah, so now this idea had been brewing in my head for a long time. So once I got the project, like the first thing I started doing was changing some lighting, like doing a bit more of a lighting pass in places. And at some point I realized, wait a minute, I have the project, I have all of the 3D software and everything, I can just do this. And then I did in 2 days, and I'm really happy with it. This little area here makes me so happy with the little columns and how it's lit so aggressively red. It really just blares. This is the important thing. Honestly, Nether, it's been so long since I actually had the initial idea of moving this back here. I don't remember whether you were involved in the very first thing. You did help with some ideas here with like the chains and other stuff, but it's such a jumble in my head I can't remember who's responsible for what. So what? Oh yeah, so I wanted to mention, like, one big problem is the first thing that your camera should be focused on, like once you start the game, are the things that are most important to you. And in this one, the camera starts focused on your lord, and the soul stone is off here to the side. But they're both very important items, which really bugged me for a very long time. And I think it might have been the initial impetus, and then I started discovering the other cons, but you know, like that was a long time ago. And now when you start, you can just see absolutely everything here. So as I said, this whole tile set will actually change. It's very old, very non-performant. So performant that I could actually cry. We did it in a very old. We did it a very long time ago when we didn't really exactly know what we were doing, as if we know now. Well, we definitely know more. Well, I mean, your performance, like you playing the game and going into this room, your PC is going to cry. And that is because of this. Every single wall here, including these things here at the top, thankfully not these, but these, are all made up of individually placed bricks in engine. If you know anything about this, it's just somebody needs to be hit over the head. Because what makes it even worse is I don't know how much of it is actually batching, but every single one of these bricks is considered a separate object, and every single one of these bricks is casting shadows, and there's a fair bit of shadow casting lights around here. Not the small ones, thankfully, but the big ones. It's just not, yeah. Yeah, it is worse in the editor, but the editor is always worse because Unity. They seriously need to make at least one game in that engine, like as a company, to understand what it takes to make games in their engine. Unreal understands that at least, but oh well, you know. Yeah, no, Unity is very non-performant in itself. The stream could be lagging, but there's a fair bit of stuff here. Yeah, thankfully these are not the same way. These are made of like different, like the bricks are still separate meshes, but they are actually one object. So that's a little bit better. Later on, these things will be even more performant because what we'll do is just make an actual low poly like plane with some distortions and stuff, and then we'll just use actual shaders on top of this. That's the way most modern games actually handle things, but when we started this we didn't know that, and it wasn't as much of a craze at the time, but mostly we didn't know that. But yeah, essentially you'll be rendering more shader than you will be rendering actual polygons, although depending on tessellation and that sort of thing. But we can do that dynamically, so there's a lot of things to do to make things more performant. Yeah, well, I mean, it is and it isn't a dying art. Like a lot of games do try to optimize. It's just that games have just gotten bigger. As technology has gotten more advanced and capable of optimizing more, the ambitions of developers have scaled accordingly. So it's not necessarily that optimization isn't happening anymore. It's just that it's like the amount of stuff is still it's proportionate, basically. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, I've been doing a bit of a lighting pass, and I can show this off better. I just love how cool this looks. This big glow in here. Later, once because this is not final art either. The chains, I can make the chains now. I have like little meshes of them, but maybe we want to make better chains or something. But the chains will be improved. They'll be a bit better. They'll have like round rings from which the ones that anchor to the walls will hang. And then the actual stone itself and the chains wrapped around it will kind of like oscillate slightly, levitating in the air. And the chains that are attached to it will be simulated with bones. So they will actually be attached here and sway accordingly with the thing. The soulstone will react in animation when it's hit, damaged, and so on. It's gonna be real cool. Okay, so yeah, I improved the lighting here, as you can see. This is way more orange or yellow. This had already been started by Chris in the corridor tiles, as you can see here, the regular hole tiles. So you can see that I didn't do that much here. This is his work. Mostly I added the dust motes, which really help kind of make the environment feel a little bit more alive. I added the heat distortion just now, as you saw at the beginning of the stream. What we eventually want to do, but we have to figure out how to make it performant. We want to make the lights flicker, their intensity flicker, but we have to figure out how to do that only for the lights that you're actively seeing, because if you do it for everything everywhere, yeah, it's not great. Okay, let me catch up on Yeah, the soulstone could definitely... welcome, Funk. I think this is the first time you've chatted on the thing, because it's telling me that it's the first time chat. Okay, yeah, the soulstone could definitely use some upgrades. Thinking of the pylons, for example, what I might expect. Well, in terms of how the visuals will look, this is mostly how it's going to be for Mordred. Giant kind of blood drop shaped soulstone with some runes on it. Like, this will not change all that much. The chains will be made a little bit better. I will improve that. I kind of went away from this design. It really is too pylon-y. And the size of it just does not look right here. I prefer the giant rock naked thing. It might have been, yeah. Maybe you're right. The different lords, however, do have different stones that are themed after their personalities. So, well, Mordred's might be the single largest one, to be perfectly honest, because all the other ones have shapes that, in terms of mass, they might not be quite as big. Charon's is going to be a bit more monolithic, a bit more obelisk-like, with some like dead bodies, like, well, bones and stuff, like, and grave dirt at the bottom probably. Belial's is going to be like all jagged and stuff, so it's probably going to take up more visual space, but it's not going to be as tall. And not as singularly thick in any one of its, because it's more like a crystal formation. Well, I mean, it's funny you say that, because this is like the old model for Mordred. I don't think he's in here, but let me try. I don't think the new Mordred is here. Oh god, there's a lot of stuff. Animations, or what is going on? Scripts. Oh wait, no, he is. Oh boy. Oh, he is. Okay. Just import settings. I don't know why, but here you are, buddy. No? Yeah. Okay, well, you didn't need to do that. Okay, so this is the model for new Mordred, and there we are. As you can see, there are some differences. It's a much more detailed character. Oh man, he looks so huge. Oh yeah, I should disable that. I probably can't even see it in this whole thing. Oh well. Yeah, he's definitely beefier. The fur is kind of what does a lot of it. And yeah, he did end up looking a fair bit like a Chaos Warrior. I blame the gold. I'm not gonna say that Chaos Warriors weren't an inspiration, they just weren't the primary inspiration. The primary inspiration were actually Diablo 1's Hell Knights, which is why you get the multi-horn stuff here on the helmet. But yeah, I'm very happy with how this guy is looking. Props to Rebecca, also known as Zarin on our Discord, for the fantastic work on the modeling. And I did the texturing afterwards, and I am overall extremely happy with how this guy came out. But yeah, so this sword, if we put it in his hands, it looks a little bit like a toothpick. We don't have the new sword just yet. I'm gonna steal your sword, Mordred. It's kind of like, as you say, since he got beefier, he kind of needs a beefier weapon, and it is in production. It is in production, but it just looks much thinner than it should. It doesn't have the same impact. Yeah. So as far as the game stat right now, you're just improving. No, I wouldn't say that. The reason we're getting these models is because these old models were never actually meant to be final game models. They were meant to be placeholders until Kickstarter, but that was under different conditions with different people, and things have changed since then, and we are now focused on making actual game-ready models. We are not just improving at the moment. We are improving a lot of things, sure, but we are still very much engaged in actually building like core systems and stuff like that. This is a bit long-winded to explain where exactly we are with the game, but we have a fundamental combat system working, like the way we have the fundament of how the combat system is going to be in the game. From here on, we will be building on top of it to make it more varied and interesting, and include more things into it as we include more creatures and so on. More systems and so on will building up, but there are still plenty of systems that we need to actually build up from the ground up, pretty much. The game is not anywhere near release, but we are getting near the point where we can do a demo that will allow you guys to get your hands on this whole thing. One thing I would really like us to be able to do before the demo, but it's not super likely that we will be able to, is to change the tile system. Because one thing that... well, this project started a long time ago, and as such it inherited a lot of legacy design issues from my own ideas at the time. Since I didn't really know that much what I was doing. So when it came to my ideas, there were a lot of things that I just straight up kind of borrowed from Dungeon Keeper. I was like, it works well enough, no reason to change that. And one of the things was the size of these tiles. The size of these motherfucking tiles. See, one of the things that I wanted to do with this game to begin with was to allow you to build the dungeon much more... well, basically to have much more control over the customization of your dungeon. And one of the things that we did with that was to allow you to place props by hand, so you can essentially design your spaces. And then there were these things. I guess this was my half measure at the time. I thought this was good. Pillars and walls and stuff like that. And some of these things will still exist in the final game, but not exactly under not exactly the way they look right now. But the problem that I came to understand at some point is that these tiles, just the very size of them, it determines, like, it funnels you into a certain way of thinking about how you design the dungeon. And when your tiles are this big, there are significant limits as to what you can actually do with it. So the decision has been to essentially split every single tile that you see into 9 parts. So divided by 3, I suppose. So each one of these tiles will now be 9 little tiles that you can dig out individually, and that will allow you to essentially kind of more or less paint the dungeon much more accurately and create like little nooks for stuff and specific chambers that you want things to be in, which will be very useful for certain stuff, especially like when it comes to the lair and how you make sure that creatures will not be at each other's throats over living space and stuff like that. And it'll just generally improve. Like, I've already tried this out in just 3D. just by some mock-up assets, and just the shift in the way I thought about designing spaces was immediate. So I can't wait to put that in the game and to get that to you guys, because it's great. Okay, let me catch up on the chat here. So he's getting an axe. He's not getting an axe. Shut up. Plenty of other things are gonna have axes. You'll get enough. Warhammer. I dig that aesthetic. Warhammer Mordred. Yeah. Okay. Warhammer Mordred 2020. Hey, beer. Welcome. I look forward to trapping adventurers in a maze of one tile wide tunnels full of death traps. Well, that should not exactly be possible, because one tile tunnels will not be very functional. Like, most creatures will not be able to walk down those tunnels. Like, workers might be able to, but we still have to see. Like, the minimum should be 2 tile tunnels, which will be roughly about as big as this, mostly because these walls now jut out. Like, this is the end of the tile and these are outwards, so they actually take away from this and make it smaller. But later we will actually be putting them inside the walls, so this will actually be wider, and this is like currently a 3 tile thing. Well, this is what a 3 tile thing will be. So when we actually make the system change, this will actually end up being wider, even though it will be the same exact amount of space. So yeah, 2 tiles should roughly be just about as big as this. Okay, welcome, Lost Clarinet. Oh, okay. Yeah. Another Euromod. Yeah, you can deal with that. I'm pretty sure that's a bot, because this is also hyping up Doge, so pretty sure that's a bot. Meanwhile, I tried to figure out how to delete messages. Okay. Oh, so you could make mini tunnels for workers to get through the dungeon quicker, but which adventurers can't follow through? Lots of opportunity for strategic layer. But yeah, see, exactly. That's the sort of thing that I'm talking about. It just offers so much stuff. And then later, I mean, don't quote me on this, but one of my ideas was slightly like you're making your 2 tile wide tunnels, but like you have your main thoroughfares, right, which are probably going to be 3, and you're making like 2 tile wide tunnels, and then you cap them with secret doors, essentially, which the enemy can't see. And let's say the enemy proceeds here, and you run off some goblins, like, or whatever, to flank their back lines while they're engaged in combat with something else here. So you pop up out of a secret door with your little harassing party of goblins, and you wipe out their little wizards and archers and whatever. So yeah. Hello, Lord Sandler. Yeah, no worries. We're still here for about an hour, and I will put the VOD of this on YouTube and of the previous one. If I believe I downloaded, I have to. Otherwise, it's gone. But I believe I downloaded. I have to put those things on YouTube. Yeah. So mostly you missed me explaining stuff. I've been messing around with the engine, doing stuff. So I was talking about Belial earlier, and I'm gonna be a bad boy. My team doesn't even know about this yet. Well, I mean, if they're here, they will. Chris knows, because Chris always knows. Chris is always how do I put this? Nepotism, benefited of nepotism. But I've been working on a design for Belial. So first of all, this was how Belial used to look, and I'm still keeping the core of the character, but I'm going in this direction. So yeah. I wanted to make him a lot more demonic, to set him apart. It's pretty 2D, yeah. So I wanted to make him a lot more demonic. I took some inspiration from basically Diablo himself. Kind of went about adding more spikes and changing like colors and stuff. Like the spikes here used to be made of metal, flimsy. This was like very old design. God, I couldn't even tell you how old. And this is how I'm deciding to change it up. He is armored like Mordred, yes. That's one thing that you're gonna have to live with. There's two characters that are armored, but he is a lot spikier and he has a different weapon than Mordred. He plays significantly differently. He does get in people's faces, but he has a lot more offensive spells, things that work at a distance. He's very fire-based, as you can see. But yeah, the idea here was just generally to make the whole thing more of a demon, because like the idea behind him is that he is very much a satanic figure in the lore of the game as well, and he's actually the first lord that fell, and kind of the canonical poster boy of the game, even though I have not been giving him enough love. Okay, thank you. I like the helmet on the first one more, though. The helmet is roughly the same, so it's not necessarily very different. It's just the rendering that needs to bring it out a bit better. Why does he come with a canary bird, Mark? I don't understand. Bobby Bite, this is not a hero. This is one of your playable characters. So the one that you see here, this is Mordred, and he is the more militaristic lord. There are a total of 4 lords, and I have revealed Mordred, I have revealed Charon, and now I've kind of revealed Belial, although Belial was revealed in his old design for a lot longer. And I have not revealed the last one officially, so I'm not gonna show her here, even though her art is done. So yeah, this is one of the characters that you can pick to play as. Oh yeah, okay. So you kind of answered your own question there. Sorry, I answered it again. Lady Mordred. The new helmet is a little too much. Perhaps just smaller horns on the helmet. You mean these horns? We'll see. Maybe not. I kind of like them. You might need to change your chatting settings to show mod icons. Okay. Don't ask. I don't know what you're talking about, Mark. They do look a little mandible-y when you see them in 3D from up top. That is kind of funny. I really do feel that this big armored dude with cape looks very similar to the other big armored dude. Well, you're gonna have to live with that because they are both essentially human. They at least come from human stock. I can warp things to a certain degree, but I am not going to make him like a outright demon, because the human in him still needs to show through. So yeah. He asked me why you decided on giving this lord a canary bird. No, I didn't decide that. You mentioned that, like, Mark, why are you like this? What is your problem? Yeah, the world did, Mark. The world did. So, where is... Oh, God. Well, I can't show that. That's not possible. Okay, well, that's what we're gonna have to live with. But yeah, I can show him here. This is Charon, Lord of the Dead, and his third tier. I've already revealed him, and he has power over all sorts of undead stuff. Yeah. Skillepoop. Charon indeed, yes. Welcome, Dark Trillarian. Trillarian. Okay. What's the backstory? Finds a helmet, decides to dig a really big hole. Not exactly. No, it's not pronounced Sharon, and it's not pronounced Karen either. Oh, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I mean, we've been going around for a while. We still have about half an hour. He doesn't look like a human, this one. Well, I mean, they all originate from their origin is human. Like, he's obviously not human anymore, and technically neither is he. I could warp Belial a bit more, but he's still gonna be armored. Like, I kind of want that whole Sauronic layered plate. Like, he's kind of the poster boy of this whole thing. Terror of managers, Dreadlord Karen, indeed. Lich Lord of the Dead. I promise to go back to watch from the beginning when you're done. No, he definitely does not eat gluten. Okay, Mark, you be special. Dark Trillarian, I will be putting this up on YouTube eventually. Like, I have to download the VOD afterwards, and I have to also put up the old one. I said that, so you will be able to see it. So what's the difference between the different lords? Well, the difference is essentially they have themselves different abilities in combat, different properties in combat. So not every lord fights exclusively in melee. Most of them do. Most of them can, but not everyone necessarily is best suited for it. Like Charon here, for example, he serves more as a support character, although he does that more for undead minions, because he can essentially revive them. He's kind of a bastard to fight against. So he can toss certain hexes and stuff like that. Think of him a bit like the Necromancer from Diablo 2. And Belial over here, like, he's gonna have a big old mace, because of course he will, because he's fucking Sauron. Well, he's Satan Sauron. So Belial is going to fight in close quarters. So can Charon, and Charon's attacks essentially life tap. They heal him for a portion of the damage he deals. Belial, on the other hand, has a lot of area of effect stuff because his mace is literally carrying a mote of hellfire. So he has a lot of attacks where it's just like they cause mini explosions and stuff like that, and he can also cast fireballs at range, including some other higher level spells later on. So he himself is a bit less tanky than Mordred, a bit less resistant to damage and has less health, but he is kind of faster than him in a lot of ways, and he has some properties that make him an angry boy. Well, he will have those properties, when he is in game. Mordred himself is more of your direct frontline fighter. He is kind of devastating in melee, but he doesn't have a lot of answers to ranged. He is very good at taking on duels, essentially, like one target and just chunk through it. He has some abilities to deal area of effect damage, like cleave strikes and stuff like that. But primarily he is focused on melee and boosting the morale of units in combat. Outside of combat, we have one more Lord, but she is focused on ranged and spells, and you can already guess where that's going. She can teleport around a lot. But outside of combat, the lords will have different skills that kind of benefit your minions in your dungeon in different ways. For example, Charon over here used to be a healer before he went quite mad, resulting in what you see now. So he actually will be able to increase certain healing aspects, even for living units, stuff like that. Yeah, basically it is. Okay, let me catch up here. They have different skill sets, tend to prefer to recruit different minions. Yes, like one thing that, for example, can set Charon apart from other lords is well, he very much benefits the undead playstyle. Even though you can play Charon without using undead, and he will still have benefits to certain units. One of the things that Charon will be capable of doing is, well, you need corpses in order to raise undead. You need to kill something, and then you need a worker to haul that corpse back to your grave pit for later use. Except Charon can actually use a skill in the field where he can just basically teleport corpses back to any of his corpse pits. So that actually makes him much more capable of grabbing undead, which is very important to him, because if you are focusing on undead are some of the most difficult things to make, because you actively need dead things. Demons are also equally, about as equally difficult to get, but that's a different matter. He's more focused on demons, and he has his own ways of improving that. Okay. Okay, let's see. Playing specific lords won't lock you out of different minions. No. They're not like factions. They are just the hero. Well, the hero. They're the player character. But you can use any and all things. Like, all of them have them available. They just benefit things in different ways, and they themselves have different powers. Correct me this, but choosing a specific lord doesn't lock any particular minions. They just might not synergize with them as well. Right? No, yeah, you're right there, Andrew. Another. Charon can raise and revive dead, for example. So whilst you can recruit demons with him, he's obviously going to be better with an army of undead stuff. Exactly. I guess Mordred is the noob-friendly hero. Yeah, so that's something that we've been thinking about a lot, Bobby. A lot of the what kind of came emergently is that the lords themselves also kind of represent a difficulty level. Like, there will be difficulty levels in the game, probably. Pretty sure there will be. But different lords definitely are more difficult to play. Like you say, Mordred very much is kind of like a noob-friendly hero. Although I suppose if we design them well enough, there will be like hard to master type of thing. Easy to get into with hard to master. But he is kind of the easiest, and after him it's I believe it's Belial, because he's also offensively quite strong, but he does rely more on glass cannon forces, and his whole thing with demons is a little bit like, he is friendlier towards demons in his mechanics, so that'll make them a little easier to manage, but he still focuses largely on demons, and demons are a bit of a pain in the ass. And Charon is so-so, because the undead are a faction that has very strong pros and very strong cons, as in they have strengths and weaknesses, and they're very pronounced. For example, a skeleton will take almost no damage from piercing attacks, but it will take a hell of a lot of damage from crushing attacks. So how you mix and match your forces with the different undead can really be micro-intensive in terms of well, maybe not so much micro intensive, but like you kind of want your forces to be engaging in favorable things, or for you to be compensating for that somehow. So his playstyle is going to be a bit more intense, especially because he himself is more of a support figure. Later on, if we have the time for DLCs, there will be things that complement his playstyle. It's not me if we don't have liches, but you know. And of course, the one that's not announced, she is literally a glass cannon. Again, the spellcaster. She focuses on ranged stuff. She focuses on spells and so on. So she might be the hardest one, but her and Charon might be a bit tied. Charon can Mordred's new friendly feel like the dude on the left could get a lot more fire focused with his design. Thinking of the fire mages from Warhammer Fantasy, just generally being constantly on fire. I do think that I will put like burning embers on his cloak. Like as if the edges are on fire. I like this. Don't take this too seriously, because this is a very, like, I literally just did this today in like an hour or two, and this is a very preliminary sketch. So I might change a lot about it. I'm open to feedback, but the armor is very likely to stay. I'm kind of very keen on the Sauronic look. Lots of HP. Necromancy is just delayed healing. Yes, it is. Will there be a cemetery type room so that you can keep corpses? I kind of answered that already, but yes, there is. It's not just for corpses. The undead will also lair there. It's a crypt, and the crypt. So the thing about our rooms is, as you can see, Unity. Okay, as you can see, we allow you to place props individually, right? What that means is that, unlike Dungeon Keeper, rooms are not limited to a singular function. They are more... How do I put this? Rooms are essentially unified in kind of like the type of function that they do, like a family of functions, if you would. So the feast hall is going to contain slaughter pens for giant mole rats, slaughter benches to kill those fuckers and to make them into meat, which lesser minions can eat raw. It won't make them very happy, but they can eat it. And then the kitchen will be able to cook that shit into proper meals, which some minions might take to tables, like some minions that care about that sort of thing. They might, if you have tables, minions would prefer to go on tables. Some minions will refuse to eat if there are no tables, but some minions, like the goblins, will be fine with eating without the necessary, well, not necessary, but without further luxury. So here you will also be able to get like a brewing kettle, which will make like ale or whatever foul dungeon moonshine concoction, and so minions will be able to grab that and sit down and drink. So one room will have a lot of different functions. The crypt specifically can raise the dead, so that it can store bodies in these corpse pits, which are kind of like just big, well, literally pits with broken ass iron grating and stuff. And we'll see exactly. I have some ideas on how to design them. And from there, you will be able to raise the dead. And also in the crypt, you will be able to create like resting places, which are essentially lairs for the undead, which they can claim just like monsters can claim these things, and make lairs out of them. So if I were to go here and make a couple of gobbles, and they can make lairs. So undead will be able to do the same thing with these grave-like things, and everything will look different. Vampires will have caskets, zombies will have like these dugout pits in the ground, and so on and so forth. Let me. Like I say, there's a lot. I do a lot of talking. Sorry. So each lord is more focused on type of units. No, Mordred is definitely focused on types of units. They are usually the more martial units. So it's things like goblins, trolls, orcs. Like this is what I mean. Like a lord is not necessarily only good with those particular units, like with a particular set of units. Because a Mordred, for example, might be the sort of lord that allows units to train faster, like all units, or maybe just martial units, but still. Maybe he is the sort of lord who will actually allow units to gain more experience from combat in general. Maybe he is the sort of lord who will just boost melee attack in general across the board for all units, meaning like you can get a hag and put her in a very uncomfortable situation where she is just clawing at someone in combat. It's probably not very wise for her to be there. But even lighter units like even heroes that you convert might benefit from that sort of thing. So that's what I mean. Like a lord does not necessarily limit you to even arbitrarily to the sort of units that you will be picking. Okay, different characters. Each side jailbar. I just got here as you're gonna be rather black. Hello, jailbar. Bit late with that. They are different characters, but there'll be more distinction. This is Charon. This is the undead lord, and this is Belial. He's the demon lord. I'm getting a question in Discord. Can you say something about how the campaign will be structured in regards to the lords? Will you pick one for the entire campaign, or do they have their own maps to play? Yes, you pick in the campaign. You pick a single lord to go through the campaign with. You will be facing the other lords, and as it stands, you will have a stronghold from where you will be kind of launching missions into the world. And kind of like doing your thing, and then you will be getting attacked and stuff like that. This is a relatively recent change that we've decided to do because we've kind of examined what the game is kind of turning into and what it kind of wants to be, and it kind of really feels like it's the better way to go, having like your own central hub that you build, and as you launch missions into the world, you get more stuff to make it better with. You defend it and kind of build up your forces for the battles that you wage across the world. Let's see. As for their own maps to play, we still have to see how exactly we're going to handle the stronghold. It might be just one stronghold that you as the player get, but you will be attacking lords in different strongholds. As in, the lord that you pick will always start in the same location, but the other lords have like essentially boss strongholds. But we will see how we're gonna do that, because it's a relatively complicated matter. The more we have to do, the more expensive and time consuming it is, so we gotta see. Don't you fear that certain matches up favors a lord? For example, if I pick this lord and the enemy has this lord, then I'm going to probably lose. Well, no, not really, because a lot of it is down to strategy. Like if you go in against Belial with a bunch of vampires, it's like we're providing you tools to work with, and you have a wide variety of it. The lords don't necessarily make your units weaker, and they don't necessarily make them super like unfairly strong. Each lord has advantages that can mitigate another's advantages if used correctly. That's the goal there. Each lord have a different aesthetic for their throne room. Yes, I mentioned that. Yes, Dark Trilarian. Each lord will have a different aesthetic for their throne room. The game is primarily single player focused. It'll work balanced a little differently to prevent stuff like that from happening. Yeah, that is true. You will likely both be able to pick the same lord in multiplayer if you want to. Yes, that is indeed, you will be able to. Will different minions dislike being nearby other minions? Like, for instance, the mages get miffed if they have to eat and sleep in the same room as goblins. Yes, we have stuff like that planned, a lot of stuff like that planned. That is why the tile system is changing to a big extent, to allow you to make different chambers and stuff, which units will naturally gravitate towards to make their layers. So, for example, warlocks will choose, like, if you provide them with the space, they will choose rooms that are secluded and they have nobody else around them because they're very secretive. They're very sequestered, and they don't like to share their secrets and they don't like to be annoyed by anyone else. And there's a lot of different interactions like that we have. Like, certain units like being around other units, certain units don't like being around other units, or they don't like being around anyone, or they only like being around their own kind. All sorts of stuff like that is planned. Who is the left Nether Lord? The left Nether Lord is Belial. Yeah, okay, we go already. Trogdor, the Burninator. Okay, kinda, yeah. I'm very behind chat, aren't I? No, okay, not that far. Okay. And how are her personalities? Who? What? I think they like long walks on the beach, romance novels, and burning the fur off of puppies and kittens. Yes, that is like verbatim. Exactly it. What Belial likes. As for the multiplayer balance, I think that's just an overrated concept in general. Yeah, I kind of agree. This is a single player game primarily, and multiplayer balance can really ruin that. I've seen that happen in a lot of games. Overbalancing the game for multiplayer has disastrous consequences if it is affecting single player, and it just becomes this continuous thing where, well, people who play multiplayer in a game, they're very dedicated and they stick around for a long time, and the skill level continues to go up and up and up and up, and everything continues to shift because those people are constantly like into the game. But that doesn't necessarily make it very fun. Like, the changes that they want don't necessarily end up being very fun for the more casual player or the player who just wants to have like a nice single player experience. So I am not going to overbalance Lords of Nether according to multiplayer. In fact, multiplayer might even have its own balance settings, but we'll see how that works, because that might be a hell of a lot of work. If Mordred is the emo middle child, Belial is the older brother who keeps getting in trouble for setting stuff on fire. I just want to set the world on fire. Multiplayer own balance settings sounds good. Yeah, well, that's one efficient way to do it, or at least effective way to do it. I don't know about efficient, but keeping the two things split is a little more safe in terms of like really upsetting the balance for the different types of players. I know I'm not a multiplayer, a multi-focused player myself, so I wouldn't like a game getting overbalanced to the point where it's just not fun for me just because the multiplayer community had like a gripe with something. Now, I will pay attention to the multiplayer and I will guide things into like so that we balance it correctly, but we're not gonna focus exclusively on that. Okay, I'm sorry if I have missed this, but will there be a narrator similar to the one in Dungeon Keeper who shares the story and comments on your progress? Yes, there is one. You've heard a placeholder voice for him already. He is called the Overseer, and he is okay. Well, I'm going to. Can I? No, I can't. I don't. What? Kinda. Okay, I can leave this because okay. Concept art. There we go. these guys are how we plan to redesign your workers, because they currently look a bit different. They're similar, but not as well designed, because they're very old. Ooh, that's not it. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so your current workers look like this, very similar, but also quite different in a lot of ways. Less detailed design, overall less unified, and a kind of a different art direction, a much more muted art direction. So these guys are kobolds, and well, most of the workers that you have, most of the kobolds that exist in the world nowadays, they're actually comparatively very young, for various, well, for one specific bearded reason. And there is one among them who is ancient. Like, he is hundreds, if not thousands of years old, and that's the Overseer. And he is the one who made the initial pact with the Netherlords before they were known as the Netherlords. And he essentially pledged the surfaces of the kobolds, which are kind of like de facto earth spirit type things. And he pledged their services to the Netherlords for all time in exchange for, let's say, vengeance. So he acts as your advisor and your narrator in the campaign. The lords themselves will have a character, like voiced, well, we hope anyway. Stuff is expensive, but we're gonna see what we can do, because they are actual characters in the world. They should like feel like they have actual agency, especially since you can't exactly be the Dark Lord if someone's just running you around all the time. You know, like you don't feel like the guy in charge if somebody's constantly telling you, oh, go do this, go do that. So he's gonna be there as an advisor, but you're going to be deciding on how to handle things, and so the Lord needs to have a bit more of a character himself. Not a fan of their lighting. You mean the fact that they had like the little lights? These guys? What do you mean specifically about it? Because these guys also have like little lanterns. Bearded reason. Yeah, it is a very bearded reason. I would disagree, Bobby Bite, because the narrator largely, like, he's not going to be as prominent necessarily in like telling you what to do, but he will be giving you briefings and debriefings. He will be the voice of every notification that you get, right? Like, because like someone has to tell you, oh, your minions are upset, and like it would be a bit weird if the Lord's going, my minions are upset. You know, that's just yeah. So you need kind of like an advisor figure that's like notifying you of the stuff that's going on, the stuff that you'll be facing, just kind of like a general well, advisor. It's fine. It's just the current lighting is very different than the rest of the environment. Yeah, I mean, the rest of the environment got a huge lighting pass, but then like every room is kind of slightly differently lit. Oh yeah, you guys have not seen this one yet. Okay, I updated this one a bit, and this one is the library. Unfortunately, the library will probably not be making it into the demo because we will not have a character ready to do any research. But it is a glimpse on how things will look, even though this style set will change, but the general mood, like the kind of type of lighting and stuff. Very happy with these. I went through a lot of this last week, and changed the color of the lights and just general propagation, touched up some props and so on. It's just a lot of little touches, but they make a difference in the end. There is a demo. There will be a demo, not yet. The demo will be coming with our Kickstarter campaign. When exactly that Kickstarter campaign is coming, for now, we're going to be a bit tight-lipped about it because we have a bad habit of getting excited about stuff and kind of wanting to do something at a certain time, and then stuff gets out of hand and things take more time than we anticipated. Because we are working on all of this in our free time, so shit is a bit fluid. But we are currently hoping for next year. We will see how that progresses. But it is coming closer and closer. We are actually starting to prepare for it now, so we will see. Just don't get, too hyped. Because I don't like saying things and then they end up not being true. I've said that a few too many times out of my own excitement, and now I'm starting to feel bad about it. But yeah, let's see. Okay, bearded reason. I'd yell on the mic as much as you want for free. Lord. Well, that's good. If you have a professional enough recording equipment, maybe. We have to see. Love it when I'm enslaved to a big bad evil guy because my granddad, yeah, decided that what the entire species was going to do from now on. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not the deal was you're not actually exactly the kobolds aren't exactly enslaved to the lords. There's a pact there, like they can call to service and so on. But there is a very distinct reason as to why the pact was chosen as an option, and yeah, I mean, lore will make that obvious. If you knew why most of them are so young, you can probably figure it out. But yeah, it'll make some sense. There isn't a mentor that you're reporting back to. Yes, exactly. I don't think we need them. Yeah, okay. Maybe they are smaller house elves in Harry Potter and really love to serve. Oh boy. Well. Okay, I see. As long as he is just an advisor. Yeah, I agree. Master the minions or rebelling type advisor is essential for the evil overlord experience. Absolutely, exactly. There's a demo. The demo will be ready on the Kickstarter a little while off yet. No rush. Perpetually excited for this project. I think I need to avoid these streams as I love everything I hear and may burst. Don't burst, but I am very, very happy to hear that you're so excited about the project. That's it's always great to hear. It's really great interacting with you guys because we're ultimately sure, we're making a game that we wanted to make, and we're kind of making the game that we want to play, but at the end of the day we are also making it for you, and there's a lot more of you than there is of us, and like I said earlier, the game is going to live when it gets in your hands, so it's always very very nice to see the audience excited about this whole thing. I just don't understand why it has to take until next year to start the Kickstarter. I mean, obviously you guys need resources to develop a game, so why wait until next year? Well, that's very that's a very catch-22 there, Lord Sandler. You cannot go into a Kickstarter campaign unprepared. I cannot just snap my fingers and there is a Kickstarter campaign. The amount of work that it takes to make that Kickstarter campaign itself usually takes, if you are smart, if you are wise, you will start half a year earlier. We're starting earlier than that still because I mostly have to do it mostly by myself, and I don't anticipate anything happening, but I'm kind of giving myself more time just in case. And then the other thing is that we want to have a demo that is significantly representative of what we want to do with the game. So the game is not in a state where we feel like we can put it on like on a public thing for people to play. Like it's not the systems that we want aren't all in there. At least for the demo, like even for the demo rather, they are being built or they will be built in the following year. But there's just a whole lot of considerations. Like you cannot go on Kickstarter first of all and just start a campaign like that, and you cannot go on Kickstarter anymore because the gold rush days are over. People made sure of that. Without a demo, without a significant enough proof of people to people of what you are doing and what they can expect from you. Like we are an unknown studio. Like we don't have 3 AAA games behind our belts and whatever. Like a lot of other Kickstarter people go like just on ideas and names and stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, there's this whole thing, and all of these people that worked on whatever work on it, and then they make the game and it's a piece of crap. But we are an unknown factor. People need to know exactly what they expect from what they can expect from us, and we need to prove ourselves a lot more than already established studio would. Well, I mean, the thing about Patreon, it is something that I want to set up, but I don't know how many people are going to be contributing to Patreon. Sorry, let me disable my heating a little bit because it's getting insane. I don't know how many people are going to contribute to Patreon, and as a result, how beneficial that is actually going to be for development. Which means that like some people might be giving money for a long time, and that money like might be used towards something, or it might be helping, but it might not be enough to really speed things up. Obviously, like I'm kind of downplaying myself here, but it's a consideration to make. I don't want to be stuck in a situation where people are giving money and then at some point they feel like they've been giving money for a long time and the project is still not done, you know, like, or whatever. Taking money is a delicate thing. So I don't know. Eventually we might, but I don't know how to feel about it just yet. Well, thanks, I guess. But as it stands, our fan base is still growing. We are relatively unknown. I don't know. Maybe part of me feels a little bit guilty for like with the idea of taking money for something that like people can't touch yet, you know, like interact with. I don't know. Our goal for Kickstarter. Well, again, that's a bit of a science. Everything about Kickstarter is a science. But our just base level funding goal is likely to be 80K. The reason for that is kind of what we estimate we would need. I mean, I still have to make a lot of calculations about operating costs and so on, but 80K might be enough to whatever's left of that 80K after all the taxes and Kickstarter taking stuff away and blah 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 blah. But whatever's left might be enough to keep us going for long enough to get into something like early access, or maybe we open Patreon if there's enough outpour, and then eventually we open early access. But if we get a lot more than that, obviously that's great, because the game will take a lot more than that to finish. But that is the main that's the base level goal, and you don't want to set the base level goal too high, because that might scare people off. But you also don't want to set it too low, because that shows a lack of confidence, which on Kickstarter is damning. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Like, for example, Kickstarter allows you to run the campaign for more than a month. I think the choice is between a month and 2 months. But statistically, trust me, I've done a lot of homework on this. I don't go into anything unprepared. Well, anything this important. There are certain things that you just have to start. There's no being prepared for them. But this particular thing requires a lot of homework. So statistically, the campaigns that choose the longer option predominantly fail. And the reason cited for that is because it demonstrates a lack of confidence in their own work. On Steam. Stop peddling yourself, Andrew. Still, you guys, yeah, okay. Link them in Discord. I know. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, we're kind of we're kind of past the mark here. I should probably. Every time I do one of these, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a work stream. And then I start working, and then I start answering questions, and then I talk for like 2 hours, and I get nothing done. That's great, though. Well, let's do a little bit of something at least before we go. Oh, no, please. That's it's always a pleasure. It's a genuine pleasure doing this, and that's why I'm trying to do it more. That, and we want to get more engaged in general with the audience, and grow it more, which is another reason why I have to put those VODs up. But this generates a whole lot of energy. Like, you guys are so curious about the game and so excited about it, and it's genuinely a pleasure talking to you all. So thank you for that. Let's see, where was I here? Not models. That's gonna be somewhere else entirely. Structures. There we go. Throne room. Okay. And now I can generate. Not generate, but produce a little wall light. And a little wall light, I can copy you. Okay. Kill you. And yeah. Let me see. Reposting because drowned out before. Back to game stuff, if I may. Will there be exclusive mechanics or upgrades or stuff to different lords? Speaking of, is there going to be an upgrade tree or research mechanic? There is a research tree. There actually already is. That mechanic already exists in the basic form. Except because of a lot of changes, the creatures that used to do the training, which is the warlocks, they not the training, the research, they are a little broken right now because they do not adhere to the same animation system that drives everything else, so they can't even move, and making them breaks everything. So research does exist. Specific upgrades and mechanics and stuff, exclusive stuff to lords, in a certain sense. Like I said, lords themselves will have unique skill trees that you get to upgrade as they level up. And there is something that I'm kind of toying around with, but I'm not sure, because I might split the skill tree between abilities that the Lord himself, like personally has, and things that are kind of. I have been toying with the idea, but again, don't fall in love with this. It's not a major thing, but just don't get too hung up on it. It's just something that I'm throwing out as an idea. Hags might be able to do a form of research of their own, which is essentially like concoctions, like stuff that they can essentially brew that confers permanent bonuses to units of a particular variety, and those might be dependent on your lord. Essentially, like if you concoct a certain upgrade, like maybe the hag's healing is permanently increased. If you're with Charon, like I said, if you're with Mordred, then maybe like you brew something that gives a certain unit permanently more damage, like types of units. So that they might be like global upgrades, but like they're treated as like something the thing is concocting, like, and they're distributed, whatever. But I'm not sure about it yet. It's a very half-baked idea, like in my head. T-pose warlocks are my favorite. They're not T-posing actually. Wait, they used to be. I don't know if they are. I don't know how to. Where are you? Hello. Warlock visuals. And warlock visuals. Warlock unit prefab. Hello. Warm yourself by the fire, you curmudgeonly fuck. These are the old warlocks. This is the old model for the warlocks. So there was something brought up earlier that are we just improving, and so like one of the main reasons why we are changing models, why we're updating models. It's not the only one. Again, a lot of things are unperformant, or there's various other reasons why we're not going to be using them. But one of the other reasons is because we did not design these things, like again, they were placeholders, and we didn't design them with the idea that they would tier. So essentially, if you go, I mean, I'm spoiling things here, but like whatever. If you go here, you will see that the new warlock, aside from looking differently, he changes visually as he grows stronger. So the idea here is that you will be able to like pay for forging like gear in the workshop, in the smith thing, like in the forge, and you will be storing that gear in an armory. And whenever a unit reaches a certain level, he goes up to that thing, grabs a piece of gear, and tiers up in their equipment, which confers significant bonuses. So like when a unit levels up, a lot of the things the predominant thing that happens is they gain a bit more health points and they learn new abilities, but their resistances don't change and their damage in most cases doesn't change very dramatically. Those things come from the gear. So that's that. Oh yeah, I might. Yeah, sorry. Hold on. I did have a drink set up. Hold on. Can you hold the bottle? Apologies. Should have prepared this earlier. Oh yeah. All right. Let's see. I know it takes a lot of time and effort to do these kind of streams, but I promise that we really appreciate the passion you have for this incredible project. That really warms my heart to hear. Thank you for that. Um, you know, it's just really nice sharing it. We had a lot of time where we kind of went dark. First, it was before we were even online in the first place, years ago, years ago, and those sort of periods are what we call dark work, where you're just kind of like you're doing something, but it doesn't feel like it's very showy, you know, like it doesn't feel like if you go online, someone will be looking at it and stuff like that. And recently, like last year, this is why we went very dark. The combat system became a focus, but it was being worked on in a separate project, and not much was going on in the main project because, well, my own personal life was in chaos for 4 years. It was difficult to really make any particularly interesting progress, and it felt tough to go online and try and get people hyped about anything when it didn't feel like there was anything that new that we could show. There were things being done, a lot of things being done, but none of them were immediately visible in the thing. And that's why, like, we are making the update videos. We are currently engaged in developing those. Like, making the first one is almost done. It should be somewhere in the next couple of weeks because the audio team has to score it. But that's why we're making all of those videos. There are going to be several of them coming that they are going to be detailing what we've been working on for the past year and something now that we've been quiet, and we want to stop that for good. Like, we want to stop that pattern where we go quiet, because just like I said, first of all, there's a lot of energy that comes from you guys on all of this, and second, it's really bad for growing an audience. I have to get a new webcam. This one is so shit. But anyway, it's really bad for growing an audience, because when you go quiet, people lose interest, and it's really difficult to get that momentum back. Specifically on social media, like platforms like Twitter and Facebook and so on. Facebook. I mean, Twitter as well, but you know, whatever. People can just kind of lose interest in it. It's difficult getting back in, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best to remain as consistent in posting stuff as I can, and. From here on, we're going to have a lot more content, especially since I can go in the project and just do stuff. That's just new to me. It was going to happen a long time ago, but then, like I said, my own life became like chaos. Like, we tried to get this started like twice, and both times like something ridiculous was happening. And we just kind of completely lost track of it, and now everything is for a while now been very stable, and I'm feeling a lot better mentally. So like 2 weeks ago or something, I was like, I should just get into the project, because like, why am I wasting Chris's time like going, can you put that a little to the left, a little to the, when I can just do it myself. Okay, let me catch up on chat stuff. It's not that much. I think I'll be wrapping this up very soon, because we're a little over the thing. T-pose warlocks aren't stuck; they're just spamming the fear spell to establish dominance. Yeah, well, this is A-pose. Like, he's A-posing, not T-posing. He actually is, like, he has animations, and he has some fantastic animations. Like, Benita has done some great stuff here. Like, he can actually pick up books, like he can pick up a prop, like interact with a prop, like, and he can go well, okay, I'm not in the game anymore, but he can go up to one of those studies that you saw, and like actually physically interact with the book. Like his animation syncs with the prop, and like he grabs the book and he just goes like, "Ugh, ugh," and he opens it, and then he reads and he does stuff as he researches. It's so great. Unfortunately, all of those animations are not compatible with the new animation system. But a lot of them will be carried over in some capacity to the new model anyway. She will probably figure out how to do that stuff. A lot of old stuff that we did also kind of will need upgrades, because as we go through the game and we build more and more, we kind of grow to understand a lot more of what it actually needs. So like the more we play it, the more we see, from this perspective, maybe these actions need to be a bit more exaggerated. So like animations need to be more exaggerated, and etc. to be readable or to be interesting. So all sorts of stuff like that happens along the way. So for us, it's the iterative process is pretty important, especially because we're a young team. But we've learned a hell of a lot through these last several years, and we now have a much more clear view of what the project actually requires from us, and the parameters we've been pretty much detailing them. And now this is why I say now we're building things like final game models, like release models, and so on. So everything that we are changing from this point onwards, I call it 2.0, and it is the final iteration of stuff, because now we actually have a clear idea of what we need to do, not just what we want to do, but what we need to do for the game's sake, because what we want to do might not necessarily be what the game needs, and we need to be open to that. Let me see. One more question about the forge. How does stuff get forged? What does it cost to forge stuff? Do you have to set production quotas yourself, or can you tell it to stockpile a certain amount? Does it just automatically make armor whenever it is needed? Or, okay, that was actually more than one. 1 second. So, that mechanic is not fully fleshed out. Right now it's more of like in the design space. I mean, a lot of mechanics are in design space. The idea currently is that you spend gold directly to forge a piece of gear, and you may be indeed responsible. Like, you will probably have to set the quotas, as you say, or you could, like, there might be different settings for you, for example, to tell it to fill all of the armories that you have, but that might not be the most cost efficient thing that you're doing, unless you have like heaps of gold from raiding and excavating and so on. I have seen those animations. I can confirm. Yes, you have, in an old ass build. Okay. I don't think this has been fully decided yet, but as far as I understand the concept, if you've got gold cash to do it, you can stockpile it. Yes, you can store it in the armory, stockpile it, and it's just ready. Lord Plushies win. Oh, now that is an interesting Norch idea. I have not been thinking about that. Well, if every YouTuber under the sun can make a plushie of their shit, we could probably make that happen. Why not? Cuddle me, Mordred. Myrtle me, Mordred. Objectiveness. About what regard? Because I can't keep up with the chat, so I don't know what exactly you said it in reference to. The objectiveness thing. It's fun to see the Blackfield basically repeat my answers almost word for word. Cuddle me, Mordred, pull the string, and he'll shout one of his iconic catchphrases: "Slay the priests, deface their altars, I will have no gods beside me." Well, he's not a one that has like delusions of divinity, but some do. Okay, well, we've been going a fair deal So I feel like I'm gonna cut the stream now, and I will be doing more of these. Like I said, it's always great sharing this stuff with you guys. The questions and everything, even if I don't do that much work while actually doing it. But I'm more than happy to make that trade. So please keep the questions up. Don't for a second feel bad about it. I love it, and it's important. I am very happy that there is so much enthusiasm. So yeah, thank you all of you for that. Checked it. That you said you'd be willing to go against your own wishes for the game. Yeah. I mean, no, you kind of have to, because you might have ideas that are not what the game ultimately needs, and you need to keep yourself fluid in that. You need to be listening at all times. You need to be looking at the game. You need to be listening to what it's telling you, because it is a very complex product. I don't like calling it a product, but like in purely technical terms, it is a very, very complex product with usually multiple people's work going into it, multiple different people's opinions and ideas, and even on its own, it just has kind of a life of its own. You know how I don't know who here has experience in writing, but whenever you're writing a story, once you have a lot of things set up, like a lot of the characters and the world and everything, you kind of get into this state where things just kind of write themselves, because you have already done the hard part, the setup, and from there everything just kind of flows naturally if you're familiar with how natural things flow. So this is a very, very similar thing in that the more we have in the game, the more we see what works for it and what doesn't, and it allows us to kind of listen to it and adopt. For example, like the campaign structure change, that's one huge thing that came from that, because like my initial idea was and it went until like a month or so ago, that it was going to be a very linear campaign, like Dungeon Keeper. Essentially you go from here to here to here to here, and you just follow missions in pretty much a straight line. But that just, there's no reason to do that, and it doesn't feel as good, and it doesn't feel like you being the Dark Lord and deciding where to go and whatever. It just robs you of agency, which is like, again, this is a power fantasy and you don't want to do that at all. So a lot of things like that, things do indeed come together. You're welcome, Dark Trilarian. Like I said, always my pleasure, and I will continue doing so. My experience with writing is to be a very sad pile of Google Docs in the first chapters of a whole heap of different stories. That is the dark side of writing. That's it for 2 years, then spend a year hammering a structure onto it. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own different style, I suppose, with these sort of things and their own different tribulations. But anyway, I'm gonna cut it here. So thank you again all for coming. Always a pleasure to have you. And I'm going to see you next time. So good night.